All right, guys, go ahead and stop and get out your packets. Nolan, you've probably been doing your packet online, so you can pull that up. I asked you guys yesterday to finish the story of the dog of Pompeii. If you did not do that, you need to make sure that you finish the story and mark it up, because I am going to collect these packets. So make sure you have the story marked up. You won't get full credit if the story is blank, okay? I want to see your active reading. I want to see what you do without your teacher, because you guys will be having your PSSAs still this year as far as we know. And it's important you are allowed to write on the PSSAs. So make sure, you'll do them in first period, so you'll be with me, so hopefully you'll remember that. But make sure that you are marking that up. So let's go over some of the other pages, the comprehension questions and things here. So question number 1, when does Bimbo leave Tito alone? That's kind of an important question if you read the end of the story. When does Bimbo, okay, so let's refresh. Who's Bimbo? Bimbo the boy or the dog? Bimbo is the dog, and Tito is the boy. So when does the dog leave the boy? The only time he leaves him is to do what? He does protect him. But when does he leave the boy? Remember, he leaves him in the morning, and what's he do? He'll leave the boy in the morning before the boy gets up, and then comes back with what in his mouth? Scraps of food, right? So Bimbo leaves Tito in the morning to get food. And that's kind of a key thing, because the end of the story, the dog, he disappeared. And then years later, when it was excavated, they found a dog with a piece of food in his mouth. So that tells a lot about the dog and the theme of the story. Number 2, why is the stranger in the forum worried about the column of smoke coming from Vesuvius? Why is he worried about the smoke? The stranger, he doesn't live there. He doesn't know anything about the mountain. Well, he's worried because when you live somewhere, you get used to things and you kind of ignore it and you don't notice changes. And so the stranger is worried because, right, there's a chance it might blow. He notices that the smoke is getting more. What is the source of the fumes and ashes that hurt Tito? Obviously, the volcano, right? Do you remember the name of that volcano? I think that was on the exit ticket yesterday. What was the name of that volcano? Mount what? Andrew, do you remember what was the name of this volcano that buried Pompeii? Remember, this took place in Italy. It starts with a V. Our name, Mount Vesuvius. Yeah. I think I spelled that wrong today. My brain is not working. Let's have a 5-minute. I can't deal with that today. Okay, the literary analysis. Remember, making inferences. We've talked about inferences all year. You guys make inferences all day, every day. You don't realize that you do. That's the highest level. We want to get you there. They want you to reread lines 288 to 290. Why didn't Bimbo have sense enough to run away when Mount Vesuvius erupted? He was scared. Anybody else? Okay. Okay. It has something to do with Tito. Because the dog could have survived, right? Dogs can sense things better than humans. Remember, what's the theme of the story? And remember, theme, is a couple words. So, and the title at the first page was, "Would you risk your life for somebody else?" So, what would be the theme here? Similar. Let's rephrase it like, sacrifice your life for somebody else, right? So that would be the theme. Good. Help others no matter what, at any cost, right? Because Bimbo lost his life. And so that has something to do with why he wouldn't sense enough. He didn't save himself because he knew the boy was blind, right? So he wanted to protect Tito. Right. He did. And in the story they right. And that's why I reviewed who Bimbo was and who Tito was, because they did. Their roles were switched, weren't they? Understand historical fiction. Remember, we talked about historical fiction. You guys are actually going to have a book report on Flipgrid. It'll be due March 24th. You need to find a historical fiction book. And if you're in the class, everybody will be back next week. So I have tons of historical fiction. I love to read historical fiction. It's real events, but they put it in a story narrative so that it's not boring, because you don't want to read a textbook, right? But you'll read historical fiction. So make sure that you find a book for historical fiction. If you need one, I can recommend some, and we can take care of that. I gave you a little bit more time this time. Instead of, I usually give you 3 weeks, I think it was like close to 5 weeks. So look back at the list of details you recorded as you read the story. So if you actively read, this will already have been done. Explain why the setting is so important in the story. Be sure to tell how the setting contributes to the story's main conflict or problem and how it aids in the conflict's resolution. Well, obviously, you live near a volcano. You're going to have to keep an eye on it, right? Because it's nature. Identify theme, keeping the topic of friendship in mind. Note important details about Tito and Bimbo's thoughts and actions. We've done a lot of talking about that. Hopefully, with your active reading, you can answer that. Analyze foreshadowing. What's foreshadowing? I want to review this term because you do need to know foreshadowing. I think we've talked about it in here. Jacob, what's foreshadowing? Right, very good. An event. And that's kind of like the stranger. I'm sorry, yeah, that says event. It's kind of like the stranger set kind of foreshadowed. He's like, well, what's going on with that mountain? Why is that tunnel of smoke coming up bigger? So that's foreshadowing. What that does is that helps the reader to make predictions about what's going to happen. And then, so although historical fiction can contain made-up details and characters, the characters and plot should seem realistic. Consider the use of fact and fantasy in this story. Is Bimbo's behavior both before and after the volcano erupts believable? Yeah, I think Brianna answered that, because we have a hard time. Okay, who's Bimbo and who's Tito? Because the way the dog acted was kind of like a human. He took care of the human, and the boy kind of acted like the pet, right? So absolutely, and that's what historical fiction does. It takes a, an event that if you read it in a textbook may not be as interesting, but makes it interesting. Okay, the next page. This was the vocab words. Make sure you were to put these vocabulary words into your digital notebook. Make sure they get in there. There will be a notebook check, digital notebook check in March once everybody comes back. That way I can make sure we're all on the same page. Andrew, you have a digital, did you do your digital notebook yet? Did you do your digital? Yes. Okay, so we'll need to get that because it's big points. We've been running it all year. Huh? Well, and I sent you the video, so make sure you try and get that done. And if you don't during homeroom, come back and see me, okay? All right. So here are the vocab words. Let's just review what they mean. Number one, someone read me the word and then tell me what the answer is. Nolan, can you do number one? Okay, well, just do it up here with us, and then I'll get you squared away here when we're done. Yep. Wait, what's the word? Whoops. No, I just need to learn how to work it. The word's agonize. Okay, what does it mean to agonize? Which one do you think here? Because when I have it there like that, like this spongy thing, makes it bounce back. Liliana, can you help him out? What do you think it means to agonize? Which one's our best choice here? B, suffer through a death in the family. Yeah, everybody agree? I agree. If something's agonizing, that word has a negative connotation. I don't want to agonize. That just tells me that something is just not happy. Number two, Jacob. Can you read the word? Corrupt. And what does corrupt mean? Say again. Which one of those is our best answer? B. Yep. Right. So if something is corrupt, that means it is not right. Um, there's some shady stuff going on. Number three, Brianna. Dislodge. Yep. B. Right. They're making this too easy on us. All of our answers are B. So let me show you something. When you guys have a word like this, and this is where prefixes, suffixes, and root words come in, what does the prefix dis mean? What does that mean? It does. It means not. So, and what does lodge mean in this sense? Not a house or in place, right? So if we put those together, not in place, and that's where, okay? So dis means not. Number four, Liliana. Yeah, B again. Tulips growing in spring means to hop through. And number five, ponder. If you ponder, you like kind of think about things, and that means, so our best answer here would be A. Very good. You do not need to do the vocabulary in writing. Vocabulary strategy, the Latin root rupt. The vocabulary word corrupt contains the Latin root rupt, which means to break. This root is also found in the story in the word eruption. The root rupt is used to form a number of English words. To understand the meaning of words with rupt, use your knowledge of what this root means. If you need more help, look for context clues in the sentence or paragraph. So in your digital notebook where you have your section about roots, make sure you put the root rupt, and that means no, not yet, but I will, because I'm doing this with you guys, so I will make sure I put that out there. So rupt means to break. Choose a word from the web that best completes each sentence. Use context clues or, if necessary, a dictionary. So the words that we're going to use are these ones over here. So go ahead and do that. I'll give you about a minute and we'll go over it. That's okay. That's all right. Okay, number one. He got so far into debt that he went bankrupt. Which means you have no money, you have nothing left. Number two, because she was angry, she ended the conversation. What was it? Disruption? Somebody have it. Abruptly. Abruptly means to end quickly. Number three, they would not stop talking, so finally I had to blank them. Interrupt, right? I'm going to write that one. Number four, the blank in the water pipe caused liquid to leak out. Yeah, rupture. That sounds funny, doesn't it? For some reason, it sounds funny to me today. Not funny, haha, funny like weird. Oh, right. And that's where, well, now you can, because, rupt means to break. So this word here means to break because that's about the only thing that's here. We have a suffix here. But that's why you guys need to learn some root words. They're very important. And number five, a bee flew in the open window, causing a blank in the classroom. Disruption. Page 327. You do not need to do the writing connection. Unfortunately, we just can't do all that with the way things are. It does talk about dialogue. Let's read this because it talks about dialogue. You need to know what dialogue is. Show your understanding of the dog of Pompeii by responding to the following prompts. Then complete the grammar writing exercise. I do want you to do the grammar and writing exercise real quick. It's with just a grammar review, but you do not need to do the writing prompts. A strong dialogue. So what is dialogue? Do we know what dialogue is? You learned this in English class. I wanted to do some readers theaters with you guys when you were virtual, but I need people to take parts, and so we couldn't do it. So we will when everybody comes back, because I want us to do some of that. Absolutely. So dialogue that was a good definition. When someone speaks in a story. That's the conversation between people usually, like in those cartoons, how they have those bubbles and, they say what that's dialogue. We did with, right, with the picture, right. Yeah, the Amigo brothers. Yep, yep, so that's dialogue, so good. And so then we're running out of time. It was a good story. Yeah, it was a good story. So I want you guys to do this, punctuate dialogue correctly. So we're working on punctuation. Oh boy, they're talking about quotation marks. Dialogue is set off from the rest of the text with quotation marks. It is often preceded, which means before, or followed by phrases like he said or she asked, separated from the quotations by a comma. A period or comma at the end of a sentence of a dialogue should be placed inside the end quotation marks. So this is really important. Tito said, I don't want you to go, Bimbo. Okay, so right here, he's talking, so there should be quotation marks there. And this is how it looks. Tito said, comma, quotation marks, I don't want you to go, Bimbo. The period is inside the quotation marks because that's the end of his sentence when he's speaking. That's when the period goes inside the quotation marks. Okay? If it would have been, okay, so rewrite the following sentences. Correct the misplaced punctuation marks and insert any missing marks. So go ahead and do that, and I think we have time to go over those, and then we will be done. So you can check your answers on mine when you're done. I hope you can tell what I did. If you have questions about that, ask your English teachers. No, I'm just reviewing it. That's not a reading thing. We just review. No? Did you know this? Did you get it right? Okay, so that's perfect. So now you know that your English teachers taught you well. English and reading go hand in hand. Similar.